Levinson, and welcome to Light On, Light Through, episode 390, my review of Dark Matter 1.7. And I have to say that Dark Matter on Apple TV Plus continues to get better and better, with this episode 1.7 once again being the best episode yet. And here's why I think that's the case. And of course, I have to tell you that there'll be spoilers ahead. So let's get started. Jason 1 and Amanda finally get to a beautiful Chicago, replete with monorails, and Obama Tower, which, by the way, reached its full height in our reality on this side of the screen just a few days ago. A nice feat of perfect timing for the TV series. And in this scene, in addition to the Obama Tower and the monorails, there was beautiful, soft spring all over the place. Now, Amanda loves it so much, she wants to stay in this reality, and she invites Jason 1 to stay with her, as the two, dressed in the height of fashion, dine in a restaurant that looks like an updated Windows on the World from a World Trade Center that survived and is now in Chicago. Well, Jason's tempted, but he declines the offer. He wants to go back to his family that Jason too has taken from him. And so Jason 1 and Amanda part. Amanda takes the elevator down alone. She starts crying, but gets out on the ground floor with a smile and a deep determination. Let me tell you, it's a memorable scene, tear-worthy in itself. But it's also worth noting that with the ampules that Jason 1 puts in Amanda's purse without her knowledge, he at least has a feeling that these two will be seeing each other again. And I hope so. They're a great couple. For whatever it's worth, I like Amanda far better than Daniela, but then again, I'm not Jason. Anyway, Jason 1 goes on to another reality that he hopes will be enough like his that he can live there. This time he comes close, but alas, he finds Daniela in bed with another Jason, and Max, a twin of Charlie who died in infancy in Jason 1's original world. Well, in this other reality, Max is alive and he has some serious problems of his own. Jason 1 quickly realizes this world won't work, but he finally figures out how to get back to his reality, which he does. And he decides to threaten or maybe even kill Jason 2, and Jason 1 tries to buy a gun, but he doesn't have the proper paperwork, and so he settles for a knife and pepper spray. Meanwhile, Jason 2 is being pressed by Detective Mason about what happened to Ryan. He decides to break down the wall he had built last week around the room to alternate realities and bring Ryan back to Jason 1's world to get Mason off his case. And let me say here, in last week's podcast, I mistakenly said Jason 1. It was Jason 2 who had the wall built around that corridor, the room that actually leads into a corridor, because that's the way our mind sees it. Now, I could go back and change that little line in last week's podcast, but I'm going to leave it just as it is, as sort of a marker of what a hard to follow series this is. It's really hard sometimes to tell whether you're looking at Jason 1 or Jason 2. It's played by the same actor. Their hair is practically the same. Anyway, so that will stay as a marker of my mistake. But back to episode 1.7. Jason 2 also decides to get a gun, and in a final scene that's set to change everything, Jason 2, of course, walks into the very same gun shop as Jason 1 left less than a minute before. The gun dealer, of course, acts as if she's just seen him, and this lets Jason 2 know that Jason 1 has made it back to his world. So, the stage is now set for the concluding 2 episodes of this series, which I hope will be just the first season of this compelling series. It deserves more than 1 season for sure. But in this season, Jason 1 is now back in his original world, finally having a shot at getting back what was stolen from him by Jason 2. And I gotta tell you, I have a feeling that's not quite what's going to happen.
The Light on Light Through podcast.
And I hope you enjoyed this review of Dark Matter 1.7. I'll be back here for sure next week with my review of Dark Matter 1.8. In the meantime, stay safe, stay sound, and enjoy. And let me just add here, I haven't been saying much about Ukraine in these more recent reviews, but I'll say again, I hope the Ukrainians survive the savage attack of those Russian fascists and get them once and for all out of their country.
The Light on Light Through podcast.
Athens, 2042 AD. She ripped the paper in half, then ripped the halves, then ripped what was left again into bits and pieces of history that could have been. Sierra Waters had read once that, years ago, it was thought that men made love for the thrill, while women made love for the sense of connection it gave them.
Curled Up with a Good Book says, Sierra Waters is sexy as hell. You can find out more about The Plot to Save Socrates by Paul Levinson at theplot2savesocrates.com.
Your brilliant story, it's real life.
Paul Levinson's Silk Code, about an ancient biotech war raging on in secret for centuries.
Reading words from Paul Levinson's mind. His tales take the stage, leave the world behind.